we grew a team to help do the release management, the change management, and the configuration of the environment. And then, can you guys hear me? Okay.
I'm talking to myself and ranting.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, there's some background noise, but we are able to hear you okay.
Okay, sorry about that. And then we also, as we transition and going towards to current, CM started developing more and more DevOps tools and using DevOps tools and processes. And so now where we are currently, we're working with ops and collaborating with other teams to help do the deploy to production. So when Drilling Info first hired me, they didn't have a CM person. So they knew that there is a need for change because we constantly had production issues. My first day here, one of the developers actually said, "I hate CM people." I just smiled because, you know, I'm just here to help things better. But he actually did not want somebody to come in and control and ruin everything. But that's okay. We weren't really sure what's the responsibilities of a CM person at Drilling Info. That was not really clear. I didn't really know what was my purpose. And we don't know what Drilling Info need and what change they really wanted at that point. We don't know anything, but we know that we need to change something. And so we're in it together. We all agree, the tech team all agree to improve. So we want to first analyze and then integrate to help deliver. So first thing we did was look at the team organization. Everybody was siloed back then. It was all departmental seating, and project teams only meet up like once a week, and they work on their own the rest of the week, and they come back every week just to kind of catch up. But nobody really knew what other people were doing, and the test team was always, got stuck. They were the last stop, and pretty much, everybody else was negotiating for them to deploy faster and test faster. So the quality of the changes going out was not at par. We also analyzed the tool sets that we had and the process. We did do continuous integration for trunk and feature branches, which is a good thing. So if you make a change, it goes automatically into the dev environment. However, integration was really difficult. When you have a feature branch coming back into trunk, it took like 2 weeks to do code reviews, and it was very painful to merge back into trunk and push it out the door. The builds was monolithic, so it was like 1 to 2 hours to build and run all of the unit tests. Change management, we could dig out changes from the logs, the commit logs, but it was not as informative. It was not on an integration level. The configuration was a mess because it would work in dev, but then it won't work in production because we're missing all these configurations, and there was no dependency management. And communication, again, everybody was siloed, so it was everybody's doing their own thing. And then, the deploys, we used to do deploys every 2 weeks, and that was only for bug fixes. It took about 5 hours every time. And, big releases like new features and stuff would be anywhere from 9 months to a year and a half, 2 years. Is that acceptable? I don't think so. So we all realized that what we really need is the speed of delivery. In this day and age, we really need to be on top of it, deliver faster. So with that, we need to do something different. We need to start building relationships, break down the silos, and changing mindsets. The picture over here is actually an intern that we had. We were having silos between like ops and, you know, the tech team, the project teams. And so I actually had an intern, so he was making little cupcakes from an easy bake oven. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's a toy for kids where you could actually bake something. So he's actually in the head of ops office making cupcakes and, you know, breaking down the silos and, you know, creating that trust and comfort. And then so we also, by breaking down the silos, we started doing more tech lunches together. We go out on a weekly basis. We do group trips to SIGs around Austin. SIGs is like special interest groups, so we'll go to like DevOps SIGs at various companies around Austin and meetups. We're also trying to talk to the business side of the house more so that, you know, we're aligned, more aligned with each other. And with all of this was an opportunity for change because we decided to do a new platform. We decided to do a next-gen drilling info. And this gave us an opportunity to put everybody together. We started having more dedicated teams where the seating arrangement is like all integrated with everybody from cross-functional teams. And, you know, we started looking at the latest, greatest, innovative tool sets that will help us deliver faster. So it's a lot of collaboration. So this is my CM team. The team, we use Kanban to help manage our workflow, and we do code review to help each other with the cross-training. So in the team, here I am in the middle. I'm the manager, so I help with like the interdepartmental relations. I work on strategy and processes, and then the guy in the green, Will Sola, is my senior CM. He's an innovator, and his motto is to automate himself out of a job. And the other two is Kevin and Dave Goodine, and they're the other two CMs. They're mid CMs, and they are like the customer-oriented. They write cookbooks. They do support of bills and tools and deployment. They build relations. So this is my team. Do we have any questions so far?
No questions, Marisa, so far. So you can.
Okay. So we're here to serve all these other groups. We have PMOs, GIS, products, DBAs, QAs, products. Oh, I put products twice. Sorry about that. Product owners, Dev and DB Dev. So on the left here is your typical CM department in many of the organizations around town. CM usually just manage the change, the configuration, and help coordinate with the releases to production. Here at Drilling Info, we kind of evolved into more of a DevOps role where we're doing a lot of the deployment tools, the scripts. We do infrastructure as code. I'm not sure if you guys know what that is. That's when we use code to pretty much stand up servers from bare metal to a running server. And we help with the development of monitor, stuff, calls to run scope for monitoring, production, and any of the environments actually. We do cloud development, continuous delivery, and we also do production support for apps because we're so involved with the project teams. Okay. So my team actually asked me this. why. Why do we want to take on more? You know, that's a lot more than a typical CM group. Why do we want to be on call for production support for apps? You know, why do we have to do monitoring? Well, it's easy. We're all in together. We wanted to, you know, speed up the delivery process. We wanted to, you know, help eliminate the gates and try to streamline the delivery life cycle. You know, we need more faster and more reliable delivery schedule. And, you know, plus it's cheaper to catch bugs sooner than later. You know, so if you have a project that's like 2 years by the time we put it out into production, the developer already forgotten how they developed it, and it's harder to fix bugs. And also, you know, getting customer feedback sooner than later is also a great thing. So this is what we did. We changed our tool chain, sorry. So for communication, we were using our personal Yahoo account before. But now we have a central, you know, communication tool, which is called HipChat. It is great. It is, you know, it has a lot of, you know, we integrated with a lot of our technology stack, such as Jenkins and RunScope for monitoring, and, you know, we also use ChatOps, which is HughBot. We have HughBot living in HipChat. So HughBot, his name is Sparky Sanchez. Sparky helps us with like the deploy, kicking off deploys, kicking off automation, all within HipChat. So HipChat was a great transition for us. We transitioned from Excel. Before we were using an Excel spreadsheet to help manage our projects, and now we are using Rally, which is an agile project management tool. And that was a little bit of a learning curve for us because it was a big change. Doing stand-ups was a big change, like daily stand-ups, and then, you know, it was kind of hard at first to do the setup so that, you know, we could have accurate reporting. So Rally came in and helped us, and now every single project at Drilling Info is using Rally to help track. So we also moved from Subversion to GitHub. GitHub was really easy. There's a lot of documentation already online, you know, and it's very portable, and you could just, you know, do easy code reviews. And so that's actually also integrated with HipChat, by the way. So if you have a pull request, we could get a HipChat message that something's ready to review. We're also still using our CI server is still Mr. Jenkins. He's pretty stable, and we'll probably still continue to use Jenkins for a while. We're still using Nexus for our artifact management tool. And we didn't really have anything for configuration management. You know, we now use Chef, which is our configuration management tool. Like I said before, you know, we could use code to configure from bare metal to a running server. It was very beneficial. Before it used to take like, you know, 2 months for ops to help us build a server. Now we could, you know, do things on our own, we as in the project team. But it was a huge learning curve for the devs and for a lot of team members actually. And the hard thing with Chef is that we really didn't have a drilling info process down. It was just kind of, here you go, and let's run with it. And so there was not a lot of expectation, you know, it was not clearly defined. So who owns what, who does what was still, you know, a hard thing for us with Chef. We started using AWS, Amazon Web Services, to help manage our servers out in the cloud. You know, we are still using the data center for some of our stuff, but all of the new stuff is now in AWS. There was no implementation issues. We just need to be very conscious of costs. And before, we didn't really have anything for monitoring all of our backend services and, you know, our apps, and now we have Run Scope, and we also have another tool called Uptime. And our latest addition is Docker. Docker is great. Is, you know, being able to be more portable with the changes and having it all contained was great, and is very cost savings because it would cost less in AWS. So,
can we take one question before you move off from the tools page?
yeah.
So in your one of the pages, the first page on the tool chain, you showed tools like HipChat and Rally. So are these the same tools which are used by rest of the engineering organization for example, development and QA teams? They're using HipChat as well as Rally, of course.
Yes. Ops, QA, project managers, the platform guys, everybody's on it. Even GIS. We do our deployments from HipChat.
Right.
And we're all using the same tools. We're all using GitHub. We're all using Rally.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And that was a good move too, because before everybody was kind of doing their own thing with different tool sets. So that was a good question.
So maybe one other clarification on the tools you can provide. So where did the initiative to move to common tool set come from? From the CM team or somewhere outside of the CM or any other part of the organization? How did the initiative to get to a shared same set of tool set come about?
I think it's a collaboration of the whole team, like the whole tech team. Because with stand-ups come a lot of communication. When we meet every day, we talk about, we'll always continuously try to improve our process and, you know, identify what's happening and what are some of the pain points and try to resolve it. And I think when, the platform director actually introduced HipChat to us, and slowly each team just started using it. And now we're all on it.
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So, so now that we have all the tool sets, a new platform, you know, some of the stuff in place, we have to deliver. So we, you know, pretty much try to do, we as in CM, try to like set up so that, you know, a lot of the developers and testers could do, you know, self-serving stuff. They could self-service themselves, and then we could focus on deployment process and deployment tools and do more DevOps stuff. So, you know, we created something like Jenkins Job Builder, which, you know, could create, developers could go and create or modify Jenkins job that are checked into Git. So we could also reproduce, if something goes wrong with the Jenkins server, we could stand it up quickly because everything is saved in Git. And pull request builder, so if you have a pull request, you submit a pull request, a team member submits a pull request, it would automatically build before even, you know, doing the code review. So you know that at least it's build, you know, it's able to build. You know, we have this thing that we call a CI monkey, continuous integration monkey. This is something that our senior CM person created, which would, if you're a developer working on a new repo, guess what? This little monkey creeps through Git and see if there's a new repo. If there's a new repo, it lays down the build framework for you and creates YAML files so that you could use it for your build. We also, like I said earlier, have Sparky Sanchez, which is our little Hubot to help with the deploys and automation. So anybody could use Sparky. Anybody could, could ask questions from Sparky. We're also like focusing on continuous delivery to dev. So that's set up so we don't have to worry about builds and tools for them. And then we started focusing around the usage of AWS and making sure that, there's management around there so that we could reduce some of the costs. And the big thing was the feature gates. This gives us the capability to deploy to production without exposing the new features until the business side of the house is ready for us to expose the new features.
Marisa, let's take one quick clarification question that just came in on this page. So the self-service, is it in existence or is this a future kind of a goal?
This is existing, yes.
All right.
This is in the past 2 years we've been kind of working our way up to like having everything kind of like self-service.
Thanks.
Okay. So with all these improvements, there's still challenges. We're continuously trying to break up silos. I mean, to this day, there's all sorts of silos, right? But we just have to try to work at it and build relations and try to talk through some of the stuff. With all of the new tools that came in, development was having some issues because their main purpose is to produce features, but we were actually introducing all these tool sets, all these tools that are kind of complicated, like Chef and Docker and all these things. They have to stop and they have to try to learn it, and there was issues with, hey, I only create a server once a quarter, and every time I create a new server, the process for Chef changed. The way we deploy change, and so it makes it really difficult for the development team. So, it's kind of stopping the speed of development. And, on the other side of speed, we were delivering quickly. With all these tools, we were actually, deploying every week, the latest, greatest every week. And, we had to quickly align with the business side because we were just exposing too much too quickly. Customers' adoption was an issue. Also, we were deploying every week, but our dev teams were doing, the project teams were doing 2-week sprints. So in the middle of their sprints, they had to stop. Wait, we have to tag, we have to make sure everything's stabilized. So that was actually slowing them down too. And communication is always a challenge, right? Just between the tech teams, between the business side and the tech team, and communication from our company to the customers. What are we doing about it? HipChat was, for the tech team, was helpful. From the business side, we started, I believe, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, we started the Business Ready group, which is a representative from each of the groups at Drilling Info. So every week we meet up, we talk about what's coming down the pipe, what are some of the requirements, how do we launch, what to enable, what to not enable, And so that was really helpful. And the company communication to customers, we now have a go-to-market plan. So we work closely, the tech team worked closely with the marketing and sales team to help with the market go-to-market plan. And lastly, costs, like I've been saying a couple of times now, AWS was a great example. Like, it was so easy to create a node in AWS that we were just spinning off nodes left and right, you know, and not managing it well. It was not like, if we're not using it, we still kept it around. We didn't know. We forgot about it. And so, you know, the size of the node was important. You know, because if you get like a huge node, it would cost more, and even the generation of the nodes. So all of that's now being managed, and you know, make sure we look at all these things for costs. So I'm going to transition a little bit and walk through our deploy process progression as we created this new platform. Originally, we have like 4 environments: dev, test, sage, and prod. And what we did was we had configuration for each one of the environments. And so every time there's a deploy, you know, developers have to work with CM, and CM had to write down, handwrite all of the changes from dev environment into a deploy ticket. And then IT would have to like use that change, take that change, and put it into the production environment, because we were not allowed to touch production environment, only ops or IT. I use that as the same. And so we had a lot of issues. Our first deploy with the new platform was January 2012. Back then we were doing inline upgrades only. So after so many upgrades, the servers would go into a bad state. So we would have to either restart or rebuild that server. There was downtime due to issues because we were fat fingering the changes because everything was manual. And at that time, the CM's role was just coordinating the deploy. We were doing release management for them, for the company. So after 2 years of that, you know, the light bulb went out for my senior CM. He was having a beer or two on his vacation, and he was just like, you know what, why don't we do red-black deploys? That's kind of the concept. That's the technique that Netflix uses. They do red-black deploys. I don't know about now, but back then. So this would resolve the unstable server issues that we have with inline upgrades. This will also give an opportunity to catch any issues in pre-production, or, you know, the environment before going into production. So the testers have a chance to test. And then, you know, CM started development of CloudFormation to help orchestrate the servers. Instead of like before, we were doing one server upgrade at a time, so using Knife and Chef, so that was taking a long time. Now we're doing CloudFormation, which would do several servers at a time. And so, however, the configuration part was still manual at that point. Our deploy process consists of like standing up a red environment with the latest change, and while the black one is still in production. So you have A, B, red, black, pink, purple, you know, you have 2 environments. We move all of the, you know, during the day of the deploy, we would just then move all of the servers in the red environments into the production load balancer. It sounds good. Well, we still have issues. There were still manual updates, right, to the production environments. there was a whole bunch of confusion. Is it red or is it black? Which one do we have? Which environment is good? So we were ending up like uploading the wrong environment file to, to production. So deploys were failing and production outages were happening during the prep of the pre-prod environment. So there was frustration in the DevOps-Agile at work here. It was it was really, really high. The frustration was really high. The developers were screaming. They were like, you're doing it all wrong, but don't want to be involved, so I don't know. I don't care, but you're doing it wrong. CM was kind of, disappointed, but yet we can't really debug because we have no access to production environment. The ops team, they felt like a deploy monkey. They don't know the app. They're not too involved with the project, and so they always push the new guy to do all of the deploys. So there was a lot. It was chaotic.
Hey Marisa, can we take a quick pause and answer one question which will help in the topic you're covering? So can you give a bit of a indication of the complexity and the size of the teams in terms of how many product teams or project teams was the CM team supporting? So everything you're telling right now, it will be in better context for the audience.
I'm trying to remember back then, I think it was last year, I would say maybe, I want to say 4 or 5 project teams. Okay. And that's not including legacy deploys. Okay. And then, the dev teams, we have dev teams all over the world. We have some in India, Costa Rica, Ukraine, and et cetera in America. Mexico, right? So they're all over. So it's worldwide.
We'll come back at the end and take, I parked this question on the distributed team. We'll take that question again. But in terms of complexity that your CM team was day-to-day managing using 4 or 5 product/project teams.
So the complexity is like when project teams are setting up new, they have to, deploy a new service or, dependencies between the different teams, such as dev or database dev. There's a lot of complexity in the deploy process itself. So dealing not only with the tools, the day-to-day project work, but also dependencies, and then now is like the whole deploy process was complex.
Great, thanks.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that did. Thanks.
Okay. However, there was benefits with moving to this, red-black deploy, because now we could actually recreate servers. We're able to test before it goes out into production, and we minimize the downtime and deploy time. At that time, CM's role was still change management, release coordination, but now we added deploy automation. Okay? So here's where we are now. So now all of the configuration, all of the attributes that are the same between dev and test and, pre-production and production, because we converted it into a cookbook. And so environment specific attributes changes are pull requests by developers now. So if they need to modify an attribute, they would just submit a change, and then CM would merge it, and then it will automatically converge into the dev environment, and then it will go to the next environment, and so on, and out to production. So it's more manageable. Scripts are pulled together. There are scripts to pull all the attributes together to create like dev, to create pre-prod, to create production. So it's a little bit more automated. So our deploy process would would look like, we deploy a new configuration is just updating the version of the cookbook up here, see right here. You know, stand up a new environment with the latest changes while the current environment is still in production. So it's still red-black, right? Upload new environment to production after the go-no-go. So we have like a gate to say, hey, is everybody ready? Everybody's good with it. All the teams are good with it. We have a go-no-go now. And then what we do during the time of the deploy is still move all of the servers into the production load balancer. So there's still an issue of there's still manual steps, but it's a lot better. It's more automated. You could still test in pre-prod, and there's less chance of breaking production. So we're minimizing the downtime and deploy time. So where we are currently is that CM have access to production, and we do deployments to production for AWS. And we collaborate with IT to deploy, all the VMs in the data center. Any questions on that?
No questions on that topic.
Yeah, so it's a progression. It took a couple of years, but we're still constantly improving. So, it's been quite a trip for me here at Drilling Info, to see all the changes, and I'm very proud to see we're moving the right direction. We have a DevOps mentality here, and, we're agile. It gives us faster delivery to development, to tests, and, to production, to customers' hands, right? We get faster customer feedback. And the collaboration now within the project teams, led to innovative ideas, solving problems together faster as a team. There's better communication and cross-functional skills.
So Marisa, let's take one clarification question that I just come in. When you do the deploys to dev or test, do you do it every build or once a day, or how do you do that? How often?
So for development is continuous integration, continuous delivery, which means every check-in, after, if the build is successful, it deploys to the dev environment. But for tests, we now call it pre-prod actually, we're not quite there yet. I want to move it to the next level where we have once a night. This is kind of my vision. Once a night, we do the build, and then we run all of the regression tests. We run all of the tests, performance tests, everything. If everything is good, then it pushes to test, or what we call pre-prod now, every day. So we're not quite there yet.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So just a recap of all the changes for our tool set. With Chef, we're able to, manage configuration across hundreds of servers, right? With GitHub, it's very portable. You could develop anywhere, at the beach, in India, anywhere. And it's a lot easier for code review. AWS, you could stand up a new environment in less than an hour now. Run scope, monitoring, all the different environments that we have. And HipChat is our central communication. And Hubot, Sparky Sanchez integrates with other tools and help us with deployments and test automation. And Docker saves us a lot of money, and all the changes are contained. So this is where we are now, Ops and CM working together to deploy to production. and you know, CM is doing more DevOps and supporting the project teams, the tech team. So what's next? Constantly trying to be more proactive instead of reactive. Obviously, AWS management, if we do AWS, or what's the cheapest way to keep production up and still be agile and fast. So it might not be AWS in the future, we're not sure, but using Docker definitely. We wanted to expand our Docker ecosystem. We're still currently using Chef, but Chef might be going away in the future as we use more and more of the Docker ecosystem like Compose, Create, Swarm, or Orca. And hopefully we could get to continuous delivery this next year. And overall, just having the company be more agile. You know, like from the business side to the tech side, you know, the CEO, COO, and the whole company. And that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, so there are a number of questions we have teed up here. So let me encourage all the attendees that if you have more questions, just keep sending this way. And while you're doing that, Marisa, if I can just take a few seconds, introduce Synerzip, if you can advance your pages.
Sure. Sure, I'm going to go on mute.
Yeah, so maybe get to the next page. So while in the audience, as you guys are thinking about the questions and reflecting on the topic that Marisa just covered, let me take a minute or less and introduce Synerzip for those who don't know us. So we are a agile product development company. We work almost exclusively with mid-sized technology companies, just like Drilling Info is a good example. We work with them, but all of our clients are venture-backed companies, and for each client we have a dedicated assigned team to work with that client, so they get to learn the agile environment and the specifics of agile practice with that client team, and become an integral part of our clients as an extension of the in-house team. And through that process and the expertise we bring to the table, we are able to help our clients reduce the risk and reduce the speed of delivering following agile practices and DevOps and so on, as you just heard. And we have a dual shore operation. We have a team in India and a team in US, and through that combination we are able to consistently reduce software development costs for our clients, often to the order of 50% or more at times. And while doing all that, we still provide a lot of flexibility, long-term flexibility to our clients, that they can convert a team that is working with them at Synerzip into a captive team whenever they feel like it. So we essentially help our clients accelerate their product technology roadmap in a flexible and a capital efficient way. If we can, Marisa, advance to the next page, I'll do a quick glimpse of Synerzip clients. And that page, a lot of logos, so it takes a few seconds to refresh, but this is just to give you an idea. Most of the clients you might recognize are venture-backed, high-growth companies. So with that, let's come back to the topic at hand of our configuration management transitioning into DevOps Agile world. And let's take a few questions, Marisa. Let me review. We have a number of questions, and I'll pick those questions that kind of help a broader interest. So first question I want to ask you is, you mentioned in the beginning that you had organizational, functional, siloed organization. So did you, as a company, make any significant organizational changes to break down those functional silos to be able to effectively move into a more of an agile environment with DevOps and so on?
Yes, we did a lot. We actually changed the way we configured our cubes, so it's more collaborative. I don't know how to explain it. So it's more like an open area, and everybody sits in one big cube, but then it's kind of, you still have a little bit of privacy. So each project team is kind of together, where we have like a tester, the devs, test dev, you know, sometimes an IT person, and some point we had like a BA sitting in there in the main project area. And then we also try to increase the culture. Doing stand-ups was huge. From doing the weekly project sync up to every day we meet up, we see using the rally board, we see it's visual, so we see who's working on what, and we could like discuss what's happening. So that broke down a lot of the silos also. We still have issues, don't get me wrong. We still have, just due to the business, there's always something that's happening. So we do still have some silos that we're still working on.
Very helpful. Anything else to add? You touched on the topic of the geographic complexity. You have teams across time zones and across geographies, Marisa, in your organization. So anything you guys feel that you did which has helped make this transition better, given the geographic complexity you guys have had?
Yes, so we're moving quite fast, and things are always changing, hence Agile, right? So we do stand-ups with the offshore teams. We have a tech lead for each of, like a representative for each of the offshore teams, and then we come back and collaborate with the main team here, like the big project here. So that was helpful because, because of the time difference, it was kind of hard to just get everybody aligned at the same time. So by having representatives, that was helpful, and using a big rally board. So we're moving to Kanban for this project, but our board have swim lanes. So our swim lanes, I wonder, I don't want to show it right now, but so our swim lane would be like, okay, this is the work from, offshore A, this is the work from offshore B, this is the work from the Austin team. So we see it in one board, and that using tools help us, using WebEx, using lunch and learns that are, recorded. We do HipChat. I keep on going back to HipChat, but HipChat is, it has history, so you could look through and, if you're sleeping and you wake up and you come into work and you see what's going on in the different rooms, you can still catch up. So we use a lot of the tooling to help us collaborate.
Excellent, thank you. Another one is a question around any formal training that you had your CM team that you showed the picture in the beginning. Did you have any of the team members or the entire team go through any formal training to be more effective in this transition?
We had chef training, but pretty much because we're hands-on and we want to help. We're pretty hands-on and just working with chef all day, that all day, every day, it helps. And so we just kind of caught on. And my team is pretty vocal. So, I lead the team to be able to express themselves and to, collaborate and talk. So they're kind of loud in that aisle that, where the CM team is sitting. So people tend to listen, and whoever sits around there tend to pick up a lot too. So formal training, I think probably the only one we did was chef, but I think it was more hands-on training and working with developers and platform guys.
Great, thanks. Let's take one other clarification. I know you did answer this question on Teams, but since this has come slightly differently, I'm going to read this question off, Marisa. So how many teams do you have doing daily stand-up meetings, and how stable are they? Are all 3 CM engineers on one team?
No, not all CM engineers are on one team. So how many stand-ups? There's a lot of stand-ups. There's a handful. I would say maybe 7 or 8. And right now we have one major project, which we have one CM team representing that project, but then there's like little projects that we have different CM engineers representing. We try to have one for each app projects, but there are some like database projects that we're not involved in.
Okay. Let me see what are the questions. Yeah.
Let me go clarify a little bit more. Even though they're the representative, that person's the representative, doesn't mean that this person would have to do all of the work for the big project. This person would then create a card on our Kanban board, and then we just use the pull system. So whoever's available or have the most knowledge in that area could pull the card and help.
Makes sense. All right, let's take a tools question in this queue for a while. So the question is, in hindsight, do you think implementing and investing in Docker would be better than implementing Chef and then going to Docker?
Oh, Docker is better. It's easier.
If you do it over again, over again, I guess the question, would you go straight to Docker or would you first implement
straight
Chef
to Docker? Straight to Docker.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was easier. The learning curve is smaller, and it has more acceptance. Chef was good. It was a good step. Back then, there was no Docker.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're right. Docker is relatively new. You're right. Okay. On training again, anything specific outside of, I guess, DevOps training, any other specific Agile training that you found useful for your teams as they went through this transition?
What we do a lot was go to meetups, go to, the special interest group lunches, and, we focus around DevOps SIGs and DevOps meetups. And what helped us the most was talking to other DevOps-ish people. And, there's a conference, especially for those in Austin, there's a DevOps conference that is a must-go. Every year we go. The whole team goes. And it's not even that expensive. And that just shows it would show like the latest technology, the latest features in some of the tools that we have, and collaborating with other people of how they use Chef, how they use Docker, what's the process and stuff. That's the number one thing.
Marisa, can you advance to next page in here so we can have people also look at the next upcoming webinar while I finish up the questions here? Yeah, good, thank you. So just for audience, this is our next webinar teed up for January as you come back from the holidays and all that. So this is the topic of in Agile, do we need managers? This is a good, interesting topic for next month. But let me see if there's any more unanswered question on this topic of transition from CM DevOps world. Can you talk a little bit about the cloud independent choice or getting too tied to AWS versus exploring other cloud options? Did you guys consider that, and what do you think about that?
We actually saw a demo of another tool. I forgot the name right now, but there's a lot of opportunities to use OpenStack or Rackspace or Google by the minute. There's all these opportunities to use all these different technologies, all these different companies, but we really have to take a step back and kind of look at what's being used, all of your servers, what's being used, how it's being used, how often. Probably is a big project to do that. But you have to kind of see what's best for your company for this particular, let's say the app must be running at all times, so you might want it to have, a AWS or something. It just depends on the situation. But you have to analyze what you have and how it's being used.
Right. Okay. Great. Thanks. I think that's pretty much covers all the direct questions. There's one straggling question you did cover it, but let me bring it up. Maybe it's the last one. You mentioned in the beginning that you guys in CM did production support. So can you shed some more light on why production support ended up in CM and what's the advice to other companies in similar situation to have, should they have production support as a part of the CM scope of responsibility?
So I'm in a transition of actually moving my team to DevOps, like overall DevOps as a team name and roles and responsibilities. We are very engaged with what's happening in the projects. So on the app level, we're able to help because we do all the deploys and stuff. We're able to help if there's issues with production. And so from the ops side of things, they help out with production support too, but is more on like a system level. So they'll look at networking and network and storage and, you know, they'll monitor all of the system level things, and then we kind of transition to more app support. So it doesn't mean that we have to actually fix the code if there's issues, but kind of identify what's going on and being involved with the other teams, collaborating and say, hey, wait, hey, this is the developer. This developer developed this feature, so let's get him in. So we're actually able to identify who can help us the most when we have production issues.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Marisa. We have run out of time scheduled for this webinar. Happy holidays to all of you attended, and thanks again, Marisa, for joining us and almost towards the start of holidays. We'll see you all next month when you're bright and re-energized for 2016 in this webinar called If We Are Agile, Why Do We Need Managers? Thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity.